Welcome, this is Nico from Unicorn Riot. We're in the north side of Minneapolis, and we're about to talk to Mr. Chairman Fred Hampton Jr.
Give a little background. Chairman Fred Hampton was the deputy chairman for the state of Illinois of the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was a revolutionary organization which was started October 16, 1966 in Oakland, California. Minister U.E.P. Newton and then Chairman Bobby Seale. It grew to have chapters throughout the world. And, in fact, the largest chapter was that of the state of Illinois, and again, Chairman Fred is the deputy chairman for the entire state of Illinois. He was assassinated. Now I want to stress that word. He was assassinated by the United States government December the 4th, 1969, along with that of his comrade, Defense Captain Mark Clark. One of the most, what we define as one of the most brutal acts of terrorism that occurred on U.S. soil. The Black Panther Party was fighting for that precious dynamic of self-determination. It was an armed propaganda unit. They didn't make no bones about it. The Black Panther Party turned the communities into classrooms. The former Attorney General John Mitchell had even said that the Black Panther Party had to be destroyed by the end of 1969. Former Director of the FBI J. Edgar Hoover said the Black Panther Party represented the #1 internal threat to United States security since that of the Civil War. So with the assassination of Chairman Fred, it was a major blow to not only the Black Panther Party but to the Black Power movement, to the Black community, to humanity. So December 4th, 1969, that was one of the days of terrorism for our community. In fact, that's when two of our twin towers, quote unquote, fell. That being 21-year-old Chairman Fred, 22-year-old Defense Captain Mark Clark.
And so you were in the belly of Chairman Fred Hampton. You were in your mother's belly when your father was assassinated. The things your father was fighting for, can you talk a little bit about that? Why was it important in Chicago to fight for what he was fighting for?
Chairman Fred was armed with a politic, and we like to commonly say that Panther politic that was able to address and grapple not only the race question but the class contradiction. In fact, it should be noted that Chicago was and remains to be one of the top segregated cities within the country. But it was under the tenure of Chairman Fred Hampton the Rainbow Coalition was implemented, where Chairman Fred was able to win forces such as the Young Patriots, a group of poor whites out of the Appalachian Mountains, win them certain points of political unity. Young Lords, a Puerto Rican street organization, leadership of Cha-Cha Jimenez, win certain points of political unity. Many of what we refer to as the unpoliticized street tribes, the street organizations. We don't refer to them as gangs because our position is the worst gang in Chicago was and is to be the Chicago Police Department. But Chairman Fred did win these various street tribes at some points of political unity. Even by the federal government's own account, by the state itself. I'm going to quote them because a lot of times people don't believe something is a fact unless you say the government said it or the white folks said it. But by the government's own account, when the Black Panther Party was in existence, there was a record low to what they refer to as black-on-black crime. So a lot of people may say, well, why didn't the government acknowledge them and give them an award for the work that they were doing? The Black Panther Party threatened the economy that was based on black and other oppressed people, being sent to the penitentiaries, sent to the concentration camps, sent to the graveyards. So we seen that onslaught, that attack, that COINTELPRO, that counterintelligence program unleashed not only on Chairman Fred but little Bobby Hutton, Defense Captain Mark Clark, and on our movements, our leadership, and our people in general. And the government assassinated Chairman Fred in a strategic type of way. It was designed to send terror to terrify the masses. It was designed to send horror to horrify the masses. His wife, his comrade, then Deborah Johnson, 19 years old, 8.5 months pregnant with me, who literally felt the shells come through the mattress, who even covered over Chairman Fred's body when the Chicago Police Department was shooting inside that house. When the Chicago Police Department pulled her outside that room, jammed the pistol to her stomach, 19 years old, and told her she better not run. I draw the correlation, I speak about it, that the first piece of steel I ever came into contact with, as opposed to a doctor's stethoscope, was the Chicago Police Department's revolver being placed on my mother-to-be 8.5 month pregnant belly. To add insult to injury, after the Chicago police had went in the room and fired several more shots to take out Chairman Fred, they took Deborah Johnson, now known as Akua, and Jerry, and the remaining survivors, locked them up, put them in jail. That was my first jail cellie. My mother again, I was subsequently born 25 days later after the assassination of Chairman Fred. And that was a major blow. That was December the 4th, 1969. And that was a major blow to the Black Panther Party, to the Black Power movement, to our community, to humanity.
What happened with the Black Panther Party and Black Power movement after 1969? Where did it go? Can you talk about a little bit about that through the 70s, through the 80s, 90s, and sort of the influx of what the government did to control it, counterinsurgency and all these other things, but also then can you talk about the lead up to the Black Panther Cubs?
There was strategic hits made, you know what I'm saying? The United States government, they knew who to kill, they knew who to lock up, they knew what organizations to attack. And not only with that, you've seen such individuals as former Deputy Director of the FBI, William Sullivan, who's the architect of the COINTEL program. You've seen him dispatched to places such as Vietnam to deal with their so-called drug problem. And when he returned from Vietnam, Southeast Asia, all of a sudden the black community was bombarded with heroin habits. Mind you, Vietnam, Southeast Asia is where the poppy leaf, the raw form of heroin is at. And so when he came back, all of a sudden you seen cats with horse habits or heroin habits. This is also in the heels of the uprising of the crazy Vietnamese people. Then fast forward to 1978, when the Sandinistas are fighting in Latin America, we see the U.S. government was exposed by the Contra, under the Ronald Reagan administration. You send the same William Sullivan to Latin America. When he came back, all of a sudden cocaine, later to be crack, was flooded through our communities. Tying the propaganda, the Superfly type movies, that was the propaganda bombs that was dropped on the communities. So there's been continuous hits. Then also, the state strategically raised up the more palatable, and I'm using that term kind of loosely, they raised the palatable individuals, you know what I'm saying, to say, this is a spokesperson for the Black Panther Party, this is a spokesperson for our movements. It's like a war tactic. When Genghis Khan went through China, he didn't wipe out, he raised up certain members of the Chinese community. This government, they attack legitimate movements, and we see today, right now, fast forward to today, something the Black Panther Party cubs in our community are still grappling with, how the government created these GMOs, these government-made organizations, to continue with real legitimate, organic resistance. Black Panther Party cubs, we say we are the great-grandchildren of Garvey, the offspring of Malcolm, and the ideological cubs of the Black Panther Party. We say it's a tough act to follow, but we try our best. The Black Panther Party Cubs is the organization that's carrying the legacy of the Black Panther Party. We turn the communities into classrooms. We are an international organization. We are a revolutionary organization. We do more before 10 in the morning before the Marines or elected officials do in a 2-month time period. So we out there consistent. Again, we say the Black Panther Party, which is one of the most revolutionary organizations North America has witnessed. We say it's a tough act to follow, but we try our best.
So when we're talking about Black Panther Party, we're talking about other movements as well. We saw you out in North Dakota with the Standing Rock, with the No Dapple stuff. Can you talk about, and we also, Unicorn Riot talked to you with Ms. Conahue's Freedom. And so can you talk about the intersectional movement building? Can you talk about how that is maybe affecting, or maybe just your thoughts on it in general?
The Prisoners of Conscience Committee / Black Panther Party Cubs, we pride ourselves on a number of things, but that in particular, coalition building. We have been fortunate, to form principal coalitions and scientific relationships with a number of different forces. As you just mentioned, we was down literally on the ground in Standing Rock, North Dakota, on the ground with real deal forces. Who was one of our comrades, from the indigenous community, amongst others. We go back even with the Native Youth Movement and other forces. But in the spirit of respecting, I want to say this: respecting that of self-determination. We didn't come down to Standing Rock as some sort of great saviors. We came in solidarity, saying that the Black Panther Party Cubs, we on deck, because the relation we have about tying in that of political prisoners, calling for the freedom of Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier, Sunday Adekole. In fact, we said, what's our call? Free them all. We have the mine in British Columbia. I'm using that term loosely because it's literally the raping of the land, you know what I'm saying, by the colonialists. So we have a long history of forming a principal coalition with the indigenous community, contrary to what the propaganda that many of our people are subjected to, whether it be the Tarzan movies or the John Wayne movies. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no, some people think ain't no more indigenous people out here, no more Native people out here. Real deal red resistance is happening, y'all. Real deal African resistance is happening. Real deal resistance in the brown community is happening. So our position is to formulate principal coalitions, you know what I'm saying, to go past these state-sanctioned spokespersons that are raised up in, you know what I'm saying, the various communities and touch down on real deal resistance.
Speaking of that, when you're talking about state-sanctioned leaders, essentially, can you talk about how to combat the counterinsurgency that we see everywhere when a movement starts?
Expose the continuing counterinsurgency. You know, we had what Chairman Mao Zedong talked about, combat liberalism. We have to expose it, recognize it. You know what I'm saying? We differ from some people take the position. All we got to do is get ourselves together. We'll be all right. We say we can't have no conversation without acknowledging there's a continuing counterinsurgency. And I'm not saying that we acknowledge it in some sort of pessimistic or defeatist type of way that we can't win. Chairman Fred Sr. would say, we know they got our pictures, we know they got our license plates, we know that they would not be satisfied until they get everybody in the Black Panther Party in jail. However, if we spend more time worried about that, we spend less time working for the people. We understand that our best security is the people. But our deal is also, as Minister U.E.P. Newton said, that the state loves to perform its treachery in the dark. We turn the lights on. We expose these contradictions, you know what I'm saying? Be very clear. We come with a politic that say all police don't wear uniforms. We understand that everything is political, whether they're coming via the forms of propaganda bombs, you know what I'm saying, through the slaves' ease and the like, you know what I'm saying, the state flood through these clear channel control radio airways, whether they come through the straight out, you know, gunning down of Philando Castile in Minnesota, whether they come out the straight out kidnapping and locking up the Mumia Abu Jamals and the Sunday Colas, whether they come through the forms of the chemical biological warfare, the Molly pills and the ecstasies and the crack that's flooded throughout the colonized communities. We recognize that it's a war. Ain't no war on drugs, ain't no war on gangs, ain't no war on guns. It is a war on the people. And we relate to what Minister U.E.P. Newton said. If we do not fight back, it can be defined as nothing less than reactionary suicide. We refuse to commit reactionary suicide.
Thank you for all that. So you use language in a way that's different from other people. You use realistic language when you're speaking of the state's forces, or you talked about being in jail and called it a concentration camp. Can you talk about why that's important?
Language, like everything else, is political. Saying this is no slight of nobody else. I don't come with no bunch of Greek letters behind my name. I don't come with a whole bunch of sheepskin on the walls. I come with the blood, sweat, and tears of the streets of Chicago, or better known as Chirac. I learned American history the same place that Malcolm X learned American history from his prisons, from his ghettos. You know what I'm saying? And I've not been trained by the state. You know what I'm saying? Again, I've learned lessons through the state villas. We call it death villas. You know what I'm saying? The streets of Chicago, the streets of Chicago, Chirac, Oakland, California, you name it. We out there with the people. I'm Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. And that's not, you know what I'm saying, the state that make me, the state can't break me. They can't come to mine and say, take my position from me. I'm a servant of the people, the Black Panther Party Cubs. Our position is that the streets are our office. That's our office, the streets. Our secretaries are them brothers and sisters, the people you see on the street corners, those are our secretaries. Our work hours are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Them gangways and alleyways and the ghettos, that's our desk. Because we are servants of the people. Again, so even we say language is political. You know what I'm saying? So some people say that it's not official English sometimes that I speak, you know what I'm saying? Again, this is a bastard language to all of us. You know what I'm saying? And again, we speak with self-determination. We speak on our own terms. You know what I'm saying? Nothing's more precious than that precious entity which we fight for. That's self-determination. And you know what I'm saying? We're gonna fight for it. We're gonna tie it with our language, our communication. Again, we say everything, I repeat, everything is political.
That's beautiful. Maybe one last question. Malcolm X, this is Malcolm X conference. We heard a lot about even cooperative economics. We heard you're talking about now self-determination. Can you talk about just basically what Malcolm X's legacy means to you?
The legacy of Malcolm X represents that of self-determination. Malcolm X gave, you know what I'm saying, didn't cut no corners. You know what I'm saying? He provided a template, a prototype, an example for us. Deal is that we could even, I tinge at the thought, you know what I'm saying, with the absence of having been a Malcolm X. Minister U.E.P. Newton said there would not have been a Black Panther Party were it not for that of Malcolm X. In fact, he said, Minister U.E.P. Newton said the Black Panther Party were the ideological sons and daughters of Malcolm X. Today, the Black Panther Party Cubs, we say that we are the great-grandchildren of Garvey, the offspring of Malcolm, and the ideological Cubs of the Black Panther Party. You know, and also, other than self-determination, Malcolm X must be put in the correct context. It also represents the continuing counterinsurgency. You know what I'm saying? We have to talk about how not only Malcolm X was assassinated by the United States government, the attacks that his family took, you know what I'm saying, how his government went at his family, even though the assassination even with his grandson, Malcolm Shabazz, all that must be inclusive. This Winnie Mandela talked about even when a prisoner's taken in, not only does that respective prisoner do time, the whole family, the whole community is subjected to that same vicious, may not in detail that same counterinsurgency, but one form or another. So Malcolm X, again, we must talk about acknowledging, you know what I'm saying, again, keeping it in common conversation, not just on his birthday. We say this is his 92nd birthday. We say clench fist salute, but we must intertwine in every type of discussion and also be very clear that the United States government assassinated Malcolm X, and they will continue. They will attempt to come and kill him again. It's ironic the fact that Malcolm X himself said it. He's talking about the March on Washington. He said the state, when they can't stop it, they will attempt to co-opt it, water it down, change it, make something it ain't to be. Let the state, nor its apparatuses, nor its flunkies, never be able to try to take the legacy of Malcolm X, never be able to take the legacy of Chairman Fred Hampton, to attempt to, whoever it be, whoever they try to utilize, we don't say, I don't care what their last names is, what color they come in. Those legacies, we say protect them, respect them, and never neglect them. And we, the Black Panther Party Cubs, say when they come to those legacies, we will cross them I's and dot them T's. We mean that literally, figuratively, and politically, cross them I's and dot them T's. Dot them I's, I mean, real talk.
Hey, one last question, I'm sorry. Black liberation. Can you talk about the path for Black? Everything you said is basically a path, but can you just basically give our audience a three-sentence thing? Black liberation.
I'm not a liberation, freedom in general. That's a subject that I really, me as well as the Black community has been deprived of for so long that you get twisted definitions. But the deal of self-determination, to be able to right to have a conversation on our own terms, that's what we're fighting for. Because again, that's something we've been deprived of so long. You see how freedom looks, how being liberated looks. Well, I will say this: it's a certain amount of freedom in fighting back. It's a certain amount of freedom in fighting back. And so, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to paraphrase Minister U.E.P. Newton. He said on the plantation, when the slave kills the slave master and the oppressor is gone, the new man is born. It's a cleansing process, you know what I'm saying? And the colonized community has to have a cleansing process, just standing up, just calling the contradiction, you know what I'm saying? Calling, people talking about the so-called crabs in the barrel, talk about who putting the boiling water on the crabs, you know what I'm saying? Who's creating the conditions for what we're going through? So again, the Black Panther Party Cubs, so we turn the communities in the classroom, and we say it's a cleansing process, fight for that precious entity of self-determination. Power to the people.
I have a couple questions too.
So,
with Black Lives Matter, with a lot of these organizations taking off, a lot of them are starting to feed people. A lot of them are starting to educate and protect film police. Do you see the actions of these groups starting to take up the position of protecting the community that the Black Panther Party originally had?
Well, we are stickling for structures, you know what I'm saying? So we want to set a stage, you know, so that everybody should be able to commit a revolutionary act. Everybody, you know what I'm saying? That does not necessarily mean that they are revolutionary. You follow what I'm saying? So we want to set a climate where it's cool, you know, to serve the people. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of climate we want to set. We want to up the ante. We've seen that in the 60s, the Black Power movement. It upped the ante. We were saying not just even organizations who define themselves as activists, but even in the streets, even in the music, entertainment, up the ante. That everything has to have some sort of addressing the issues going on in the community.
Okay. And is there anything else you want to say to the people?
Check us out. I'll get up with us, y'all, August 30th, Chicago. The annual Chairman Fred Hampton Street Party. Tune in with us every Wednesday. Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. and also the Lady of Rage. Freedom All Radio, 6:30 to 8:30 Central Time. Free 'em all radio, not free them all. Again, watch my language. Everything political. Free 'em all radio. EM. Free 'em all radio every Wednesday. Tune in with us.
What's the website?
Free 'em all. Blogspot, www.chairmanfredjr.com. Also, we fighting for headquarters, y'all. A lot of people say they gonna support us. We ain't got it. We need support. We need the headquarters in Chicago. Whatever you can do to support, hit us up at Chairman Fred Jr., chairmanfredjr@gmail.com on PayPal. We trying to get that building up. We need the headquarters up there. We need a base up there, y'all.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
you. Real talk. Appreciate y'all.